On this week's episode of The Insider, Rob will give us an update on the community calendar. Then, Brad Albert stops by to update us on several parks and community services events. And I'll be back with a high school football recap. This is the Hanford Insider for Monday, September 9th.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Hanford Insider. I'm your host, Rob Bentley. Thanks for listening. For those of you who are new to the show, welcome. The Hanford Insider is a weekly podcast that releases every Monday. I cover a little bit of everything from Hanford news, a community calendar, and my son Eric, who works in sports, gives us a rundown of high school sports each week during the school year. I try to keep things light and positive in such a negative world. I hope you enjoyed the format. I'm always looking for more human interest stories. A little bit later in the show, I'll let you know how you can get involved. In community news this week, the City of Hanford will be holding a Measure H community meeting this Thursday, September 12th at 5:30 p.m. in the City Office Training Room behind Superior Dairy. This is your chance to get your questions answered in person by City staff. No RSVP is needed. Here are some things coming up on our community calendar. The weather's looking great for this week's Thursday night marketplace. After summer full of cancellations due to the heat, the projected high Thursday is only 82 degrees. That's right, 82 degrees. The Hanford Square 8s are holding square dance lessons. Everyone is welcome. The 12 weekly classes are held each Tuesday from 7 to 8:25 at the hall on Fargo at the Tracks. Contact Sarah Wallace at 559-358-8159 for details. The Kings Players are presenting Outward Bound. Evening performances on Fridays and Saturdays at 7 p.m. There are also select matinee performances. Visit kingsplayers.org for tickets and information. Part 2 of the Kings County's Asian Experiences opens this Friday, September 13th at the Carnegie Museum of Kings County. Part 2 showcases local Asian communities in the years following World War II. Specific displays focus on histories, cultures, and traditions of the Japanese, Chinese, Filipino, and Hmong in the area. For more information, visit carnegiemuseumofkingscounty.org. On Saturday, September 14th, Kings County Community Action will be celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at their main office on 11th Avenue. There's a resource fair, cultural performances, vaccine clinic, and free tacos. The Children's Storybook Garden Museum will be holding their 8th birthday celebration on Sunday, September 15th from 1 to 3 p.m. Visit childrenstorybookgarden.org for details. Kings County Behavioral Health is holding a Walk of Hope recognizing September as Suicide Prevention Month. The walk will be held at the Civic Auditorium Park on Wednesday, September 18th from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Everyone is invited. The Kings County Commission on Aging is holding their annual picnic in the park on Friday, September 20th at Burris Park. There'll be lots of food and fun for our seniors. For more information, call 852-2828. The Remington will be holding a magic show featuring Magic Max on Friday, September 20th from 6:30 to 8 p.m. All proceeds will go to the Kings County Walk to End Alzheimer's. The Pioneer Middle School Band Boosters will be holding a Battle of the Bands on Saturday, September 21st at the school from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. They're currently seeking bands and sponsors. Contact the school for details. Also on September 21st, the big Downtown Hanford Blues and Roots Festival will be held in the Civic Park from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. The festival will feature Tommy Castro and the Painkillers, Evan Thomas Blues Band, Square One, and Motel Drive. This annual Blues Festival is one of the only free festivals in the country. Don't miss it. On Sunday, September 22nd, the Immaculate Heart of Mary Church in Hanford will be holding a multicultural parish festival from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Enjoy a variety of typical foods, entertainment for the whole family, live music, and design. The Civic Park stage lights up again on Wednesday, September 25th for the Main Street Hanford and K-Jug Radio's free country concert at 7 p.m. featuring Dylan Marlowe, Frankie Justin, and Kelsey Hart. As part of the Asian Experiences exhibit at the Carnegie Museum, There will be a tribute to the China Alley Moon Festival on Saturday, September 28th from noon to 5 p.m. in the parking lot next to the museum. Admission is free. There'll be performances by the Cal Poly Lion Dancers and the Fresno Gumyo Taiko. For more information, visit the museum website at carnegiemuseumofkingscounty.org. The Hanford Education Foundation will be holding their annual Bourbon Trail fundraising event on Saturday, October 5th. Visit hefbourbontrail2024.eventbrite.com for details. If you have an event coming up and you'd like some help getting the word out, let's work together. Send your information to hanfordinsider@gmail.com. Be sure to subscribe to my weekly newsletter to get a complete calendar of events. It's a real pleasure to welcome back to the show Mr. Brad Albert, who is the Director of the Parks and Community Services Department for the City of Hanford. Welcome back, Brad.
Rob, it's good to be back. Thank you for having me back on.
Hey, Brad, I know you've got a huge fall schedule, and so let's see if we can get an update on some of these events, starting with the Renaissance Fair on October 4th and 5th this year. What do you have planned?
So we are in the last phases of planning for the 45th annual, Renaissance of Kings Fair. We heard recently it is the longest running Renaissance Fair in the state of California. And that will take place actually on the 5th and 6th of October. Saturday and Sunday. On Saturday, the hours are 10 to 6 p.m. And on Sunday, October 6th, they're 10 to 5. And this year we've partnered with C Square Production. They produce Renaissance Fair, California, Oregon, Washington. We've already secured over 31 vendors of different Renaissance arts. We've got great entertainment. We've got kings and queens in the court. And we're really looking forward to this year's fair.
Yeah, that's awesome. Sorry about the date mix-up there. It is October 5th and 6th. I should know that. So there are some changes this year and publicized, and people have mixed feelings about it. But I know in order to recoup some of the costs associated with the event, that you're actually going to charge admission this year. How's that going to work?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. We have reached out to a potential sponsor. I won't give names yet. Originally, our plan was to fence the park and to charge a very nominal admission fee of $5 for adults and $3 for children. And as you say, some people weren't really in favor of that. Cost recovery for us is really a big thing. Our council wants to, recoup money the best we can when we do these large events. So if the proposal we have with this sponsor, if it goes through, we will not charge. And basically, they will be compensating us for kind of the estimated revenue from the gate receipts. So a little bit to be determined. If that does not come through, Spence Fence has donated the fence for us, which is a huge trade sponsorship there. And we would have two main gates. It would be one on Dowdy, one on Irwin, and it would be a $5, which I believe is a good value with the entertainment, the vendors, the king and the queen in the court, the combat displays. There really is a lot going on throughout the day with the event. So a little bit to be determined. We're hopeful, again, we could make it a free event, and we'll know shortly.
Yeah, that would be outstanding to have a sponsor. I know those costs can add up when you have all the hosts that are there responsible for opening up the restrooms, cleaning up, before and afterwards. And I don't think sometimes people realize what goes into an event like that. So thank you to you and your staff for pursuing corporate sponsorship for that. That's great news. So speaking of the Courthouse Park, there with the Civic, you have some other events coming up like the Halloween Bash and the Haunted House. And then over at Longfield Center on October 28th, you have a trunk or treat. So let's launch into the Halloween season events.
Yeah, we've got 3 events happening later in October. So the Halloween Bash will take place October 25th, 26th, and 27th from 1 to 10 p.m. And really what that is, there are food vendors, games, pumpkin patch, real family-friendly orientated events. Several of our local vendors are involved in that. In fact, last year they kind of took the lead in establishing the bash, kind of a fall festival feel to it. So very family-friendly. The haunted house will operate with that event, and the dates of the haunted house are October 24th through 27th from 6 to 10 p.m., and that will actually be inside of the courthouse. And you exit into the bash. And for the real little trick-or-treaters that may not want to go through the haunted house, they could just come around back and we'll have all the family-friendly activities there. The trunk-or-treat will be at the Longfield Center, and that is on October 28th from 5 to 7 p.m. And they're all, again, family-friendly. We encourage costumes, and we love the Halloween time of year. Hopefully the weather will begin to change a bit.
Yeah, definitely. I know it's going to start cooling down here. We're definitely looking forward to that. But before it cools down, I understand that you extended the plunge season. Are you going to be open on the weekends for people to swim until the weather gets cold enough in October to shut it down, right?
That is correct. In late spring, we had some mechanical issues. We had to push things back. So we know it could be very warm into October. So we pushed the schedule. We're now open weekends from 1 to 4. We have our water aerobics and our lap swimming got pushed into the 5 to 8 evening hours to be a little bit cooler. That will run through to October. So we're real happy to push both the public swim on weekends and kind of the water adult classes ongoing. And so we're real happy to be able to push that. Again, we know it can be very warm in September and early October.
Yeah, that's great. And I understand the water slide was not functioning this year. What's the situation with that?
That is correct. Unfortunately, that water slide, as is our historic carousel, are both attractions in the eyes of the state of California. And some pretty major repairs were needed to be done to make the slide safe for operations. We do have a capital budget, and this year we decided we would delay the repairs until this off season. So it will be open in the early summer of 25.
Well, that's great to hear. Certainly. Let's move on to parks. You know, in last week's episode, we spent a lot of time with the Revenue Measure Committee talking about the condition of the parks and how they can be improved. But I know you're super excited about some things that are happening with these larger regional parks. Let's start with Heroes Park. I understand you've been having some planning meetings and the wheels are rolling on that. Can you kind of describe the park and a little location and maybe some of the features that you're looking at putting in that park?
Yeah, absolutely. We're in the design process of Heroes Park. We have acquired the property, so now the city is the official owner of 40 acres. The future park will be, the cross streets will be Grangeville and the future 9th Avenue, which of course is not built yet. It will run from Lacey to Grangeville, north and south. It will be a 4-lane street. So it'll be a pretty major street. So Heroes Park will be kind of right on that corner. There'll be 2 entrances off of 9th Avenue and 1 entrance off of Grangeville. We're also planning for a potential new fire station on that property. As development moves forward on the east side, that's going to be needed. So we've had a couple really good community outreach. We're developing what they call the conceptual design. And that is, where will things be placed within the 40 acres? And way back when we applied for the grant, we did several community outreach meetings. They told us what they wanted. We took their top 15 amenities and we have designed 13 of those into Heroes Park. And those include an amphitheater, pickleball courts, dog park, skate park, community garden, outdoor basketball, outdoor tennis courts, 450 trees, and open space soccer fields. So really trying to pack a lot in that. So the second round of outreach that we had 2 weeks ago, we had a meeting with the local skater community. It was awesome. They the skaters and the design team Spawn Ranch, which is a special, that's what they do all over the world. They speak the same language. I didn't understand the language, but they gave their input. There is an online survey open currently on the city's website. If you go there to the Parks and Community Services, you go down to Heroes Park, there is an open skate park survey so folks can provide their input. Within probably the next month or so, they will return with a conceptual design of the skate park, refine it more. We'll have another meeting and that type of thing. So this is the time for the community to come. We have put the latest version of the conceptual design on our website, same location that I just described. And it's just really exciting to be able to kind of see what this future park, and, people say, why are you building it out in the middle of nowhere? Well, someday, not too far, it won't be in the middle of nowhere.
Exactly. Exactly.
We feel the east side will, especially with the high-speed rail station coming in on the east, it will be a popular place, probably all the way out to the highway.
Yeah, and I think that modernization of Lacey Boulevard all the way from 10th Avenue to 43, all of that area, over the next 10 years, that is going to be something to see for sure. Let's move on now to Hidden Valley. First of all, before we talk about the 18 acres that hasn't been developed yet, let's talk about the existing park. I understand that you have your Helping Hands event coming up this weekend on September 14th. Can you tell us a little bit about that event and how people can help?
Yeah, absolutely. So about a year and a half ago, we created Helping Hands. And what that is basically is having volunteers come out, volunteer their times. It's Saturday mornings. And just to do tasks, it could be painting, it could be spreading wood chips, it could be planting trees. We have pretty expansive park system. And just to get the buy-in of the community, we've had a pretty good core group that comes month after month. A lot of fun. It's very social. We provide all the gloves, the tools, all the things that are needed. And it's just a great way for the community kind of to give back, to the parks. And we appreciate it. And that's, as you said, coming up this Saturday. So again, you can go onto the website. It will tell you we pick a different park every month, and we have different projects going on, and our park staff show up and they get it all set up. And we have got just a tremendous amount of work projects completed. They'll actually be coming out in November to help set up for Winter Wonderland on a Saturday with the decorations and such. So that's been a great program, and anybody who's willing and able is welcome to come.
Yeah, that was great. I remember the first one, and just a couple coats of paint on those wooden boards out on front on 11th Avenue just made a huge impact on the visibility, and all of the flowers and everything that's been planted there on the corner by the exercise court. That's really neat to see. So the undeveloped 18 acres, we could have a whole nother show about that for actually probably a whole year of talking about that. But I was wondering if we could get a quick update on the process of rezoning the park back into parkland and where we're at on that.
So as you mentioned, the vacant 18 acres that's city owned, for many, many years, I won't go back as far probably as the very beginning, there's been a debate on whether that should be zoned for residential or for park space, open space, as it's, different designation of land uses. The previous council asked staff to go back and to rezone it back to parkland, back to open space. So that process is not an overnight process. The state requires when you're rezoning or moving housing from one location, you have to find locations within the city to move that same amount of housing. So if in this case, I think it's medium to low density housing, that has to be placed elsewhere. That's a process that goes through our planning commission, ultimately to council for approval. The last I heard on that is November, December. In the fall, that will return, and then that will continue that process. About a month ago now, we returned to council with some conceptual drawings. We actually had 5 different kind of layouts, both developing the vacant 18 acres and a little bit reimagining the existing park. So it kind of really tied together with, trails and pathways seem to be in all our surveys, master plan. People really want trails. And the city of Hanford has 0 miles of Class 1 dedicated trail. And related to that, we are kind of in the 4th quarter of an active transportation plan that we'll be bringing forward in the next month or so for review that would be adopted by council that really codifies the need for trails, how you can fund trails and through grants and through different funding, so we can begin to knit together a trail system in a community that was really designed for the automobile. And so we don't want to think we forgot about trails. We absolutely didn't, but many funding sources says, well, it's got to be in one of your plans. So, okay, time out. Let's do the plan. Then you go for the funding. So that's for Hidden Valley. We will return to council with some phasing of that project. Really, quite honestly, the big question mark is funding. And the way that the current state funding goes, they don't like you to build parks right next to parks. They like you to have a minimum of a half-mile distance. And you literally put a dot on a map, and if it meets their metrics, you're eligible. So we're going to be looking, we've looked at different funding mechanisms, and that's still going to be, the question mark with the development of that vacant 18 acres. And what a lot of people don't understand, when you do an expansion project like that, we would have to build a 8-foot brick wall along the residence and along the whole railroad tracks before you could even begin to develop a park. And there's infrastructure, water, power, all of that stuff. And that's things you may not notice or even see when you walk into a park. We're doing the same thing now with the design of Heroes Park, roads and streets and sewer and water and electrical. So those are some of the hidden costs to park development that oftentimes go unseen.
Well, that's some really good information, because I know just listening to that, I'd realized a lot of that information, but just the amount of hoops that have to be jumped through in order to do that. And I know that there are many who would like to see that park open next year, but we know that that's not going to happen. I will say that we didn't know Heroes Park was going to be a thing until the funding came through. So I think having the city being ready and in a position and having this available to potential grants and such, I think is huge, because I think I know from experience with Hidden Valley is that when the city wasn't prepared, they definitely missed out on a lot of opportunities to receive funding to develop that. So that definitely plays into it. So let's move on to something fun now. We have Winter Wonderland coming up, and I'm going to have you back on the show in November to kind of tell us all about the new stuff and the new rink and all the things that are going to be available. But you're going to need people to run this event this year, and I've seen you have some advertising out there. What positions are you hiring for?
Well, we have quite a few, actually. We have three, I guess, classifications or titles. Well, we have, ice rink part-time staff. So those are the people. There are cashiers. There's the folks that distribute the skates out. They monitor the ice. They monitor the park. They take care of the restrooms. They keep things clean. A second is what we call ice rink operation. What many people don't know is we have staff there 24 hours a day. So we have a day shift, a swing shift, and a graveyard shift. So we have a presence there. Part of that is for security. Part of it is we have a lot of work to do at night, to steam clean sidewalks, to sharpen skates, to get it ready for the following day. And the last one, the one that we just opened up, people will laugh, but we are looking for Santa's elves. And we have a new attraction that, just a little teaser, is called the Santa Experience. And we're building it from scratch. It will be unlike anything on the West Coast. And we're going to need folks that can stay in character and assist Santa and the many families that will come to see Santa. And that will be attraction at Winter Wonderland. It coincides. That attraction is November 23rd. And of course, Santa's got to go deliver presents on the 24th. So the Santa Experience will conclude on the 24th. And little teaser, on December 24th, on Christmas Eve, we will have Santa reading The Night Before Christmas in the Civic Auditorium at 5 and 7 p.m. for the entire community to come out and enjoy. So that's kind of a new tradition, but we'll get into more later.
Yeah, definitely. Winter Wonderland is a huge hit. Congratulations again to everybody at the city for working together to make this a special event for Hanford. It's definitely one of those things. I was talking to Thomas Curtis, local realtor, on an episode a few weeks ago, and he mentioned that one of the reasons that people are coming to Hanford is for these unique experiences, not only just to visit, but to live. So that can only help things. Brad, I want to thank you for coming on the show again. It's always fun to talk to you, and your enthusiasm for fun is contagious. And thank you again, and we'll talk to you again in a few weeks when we get ready for Winter Wonderland.
Rob, thank you very much for having me.
And now it's time for Hanford Insider Sports with Eric Bentley.
Sierra Pacific was able to pick up their first win of the season, besting Corcoran 41-27 in the Battle of Highway 43. It was a back-and-forth game as both teams traded touchdowns into the fourth quarter. The drama started late when the Golden Bears scored a touchdown to go ahead 27-21, but missed the extra point to keep the lead at 6, leaving the door open for Corcoran to take the lead with their fourth quarter touchdown. However, the Panthers missed their extra point to keep it tied at 27. Sierra Pacific would go on to score 2 late touchdowns to secure the victory. The 1-2 Golden Bears will have a chance to keep the momentum rolling when they travel to Kalinga on Thursday. Hanford High remains a perfect 3-0 with a roller coaster of a win at St. Joseph's in Santa Maria. The Bullpups appeared to have the game in hand, leading 31-13 heading to the fourth quarter, but the Knights scored 14 unanswered and were driving with a minute to go in the fourth quarter before the Bullpup defense came up huge with a Gilbert Garcia sack and an Albert Richardson interception to seal the 34-27 victory. Cordy Glass propelled the offensive side of things for the Bullpups, rushing for 3 touchdowns. Hanford High will head on the road for the fourth game in a row this week, going down to Visalia to clash with El Diamante. And Hanford West is still looking for their first win of the season, falling to Woodlake 49-26. Next up for the Huskies is a trip on Thursday to take on Kerman. And while we're talking football, from Bullpup to Bulldog, Hanford's own Tyler Mello made an impact on Saturday night at Valley Children's Stadium at Fresno State. Usually a special teams player, he saw action with the Fresno State offense, lining up in the backfield before rolling out and catching a 1-yard touchdown pass to put the Bulldogs up 32-17. Tyler earned his degree in ag business from Fresno State this past spring and is now enrolled in the master's program. Also appearing in the game was another Hanford High School graduate, Mason Brousseau, as he suited up for Sacramento State, and the Hornets defensive lineman was able to record a sack of Fresno State quarterback Mikey Keene. The Bulldogs won that game 46-30. We'd like to cover as many local sports as we can, so if you have a score report or a story idea, make sure to email hanfordinsider@gmail.com. I'm Eric Bentley, and this has been your Hanford Insider Sports Report.
Well, that's all the time we have for this week's show. Join me next week as I visit with the curators from the Kings County's Asian Experiences exhibit at the Carnegie Museum. If you enjoyed this podcast and you'd like to show your support, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/Hanford Insider to make a donation. If you'd like to join the Hanford Insider email list, stop by my website at hanfordinsider.com to sign up for updates. You'll also get an exclusive copy of my newsletter in your inbox each week. You can send me feedback by voicemail through the website by clicking on the microphone icon. I'd love to hear from you. Your comments may even be shared on the show. I also need your help getting the word out about the show by liking and sharing on social media or telling a friend. For more information about the show, you can find this podcast on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, X, and YouTube at Hanford Insider. If you have a show idea, be sure to email me at hanfordinsider@gmail.com and I'll look into it. Thanks for listening. Enjoy the cool weather and have a great week.